in this group that's forming. This merry band of incredible actresses, each and one actor who got the basketball in the hoop every time the night I saw it.
Oh,
Um,
good.
that would be the scariest for me of all the parts they had to do and all of the vulnerability for those women. I was like, that seems really scary to me.
It is. He's spent a lot of time practicing, a lot of.
Course. I'd be right. So talk about who is she talking to? What's happening at the top of your play?
Yeah, I think she's really talking to the audience, the people who came into this room. I mean, part of what is exciting to me about the opening is it's acknowledging we are all here in this room together, and the house lights in the theater are still up, so people are still lit. They're seeing each other. They've put their phones away in a yonder pouch, and they're sitting in community with each other, and we're right there in the here and now. And she's basically saying, you know, I need your help to tell this story. I'm trying to understand my mom, and I need you with me as witnesses, as support, as feedback to go on this journey. And what's interesting is the audience is so vocal at this play, and it gets more and more so every night because I think she gives them permission to be their full selves, like
Yeah.
people are talking back to her, people are snapping, people are clapping, people are laughing, people are in community with the characters on stage. There's no fourth wall, really. We're
Yeah.
all together. And that is really exciting to me. I've never written a play quite like that before, where the audience feels so free to participate in what's happening.
Well, it's really thrilling. I mean, we can't ignore one of the things that happens, which I have only experienced before in like a Disney screening of something before it's come out, where you have to hand your phones in. Um, it's so interesting because at the top of the play, you don't know why you've been asked to not just silence your phones, but put them in a, for people who don't know, it's like it looks like a sunglass pouch that's,
Mhm.
made of, soft fabric. You put it in and then it locks. And it is so, talk about liberation. Immediately, it's so liberating. I don't know what doctors do, but I'm not a doctor. So I just handed my phone over with complete comfort. And it does immediately create a communal experience, right? We're all like, wait, what's happening? Why are they taking my, will I get it back? What happens at the end of the, like, there's all this stuff that you are in it together with your neighbors. Um, and yet, like my husband was in the play Take Me Out. I wish they had had those in the original production. I wish they'd had those locked
Mhm.
for phones. Um,
Yeah.
there's a nude scene in your play, and I thought this was about just let's just be present for the play. I didn't even think what's happening in Act Two that they need my phone. Were there various stages? Was there ever a time? Because I know in reading about this moment how important our bodies, ourselves, all these things that people started to learn, women, to get more comfortable with their bodies and be liberated around their bodies. Were there stages where you're like, look, they could just be in their underwear? I mean, we could do this a million ways. Can you talk us through the decision to really go for it versus an idea at it or lighting it a certain way? Like, can you talk us through this really exciting thing in your play?
Um, yeah, I had done a bunch of research around CR groups, consciousness raising groups, which is sort of the framework of the group of women that meet in the play. And they meet to tell each other the truth about their lives, right? But then um a lot of the women that I spoke to from the time remembered also meeting in the nude and telling each other what they liked about their bodies and what they didn't like about their bodies, and having very honest conversations about their relationship to their bodies. And interestingly, because it was a time when there weren't a lot of women playing sports. There weren't gyms where you would like go to the gym and see a lot of naked women in the locker room. For a lot
Right.
of these women, it was their first experience of seeing a naked woman who wasn't themselves, So it was both about their relationship with their own body, but also just seeing other people, seeing the diversity of bodies that exists,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
really realized because they, a lot of them hadn't been exposed to that. So it felt so essential in the research that I did that I felt like I really wanted to try to put it in the play. And I knew that it would be challenging. And I knew that there would be a lot of people who understandably would say, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to be in this play because of this. And that is completely valid and their choice. And we understood that completely. But there would be some people who would feel comfortable and want to see what this is and try it and, be part of it. So we worked very carefully and intentionally with an intimacy coordinator. We were very careful to sort of respect everyone's boundaries, and they're different for each of the actors. And they all had private conversations with the intimacy coordinator that Whitney and I were not even part of. And then Whitney White herself, who's such an astoundingly brilliant director, was also able to sort of create environment of respect and dignity and intimacy and everything. So she, I think, went a long way towards taking care of everyone. But it really was something that I didn't know how it would feel inside the play until we did it in previews in the first production of the play. And I didn't know how people would respond. And it was a big risk. But I think ultimately now it feels like an integral part of the play.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't want it to be the play like that play with the naked people in it. I wanted the play to be so much more than that. And I feel lucky and grateful that the play's been received like in its entirety. Yes, that's like a part of it that I'm very proud of, but it's not the whole thing.
Right. I mean, I think it's being received like in a really mature way,
Yeah.
uh,
Yes.
by
Yeah.
people who want to be changed in a way that, the beauty of theaters, you come in, you walk off the street and your day in one reality, and you leave hopefully changed
Mm,
and opened up to something. And I feel like this play is so beautiful in that way because you do start it off, we are so comfortable right away, so we can all relax, right?
mm,
And then it's still really thrilling to see that many women on stage together. And obviously you have, the woman who's sharing the story, but everyone gets to be so beautifully and fully realized, in this very short period of time. We get so much information. We also, I know you didn't set out to write a political play or I'm going to teach people stuff, but we also learn about all the other sort of subsets of organizations that are working all over the country at that time and sort of the crossover and the lack of crossover. And also the astonishing thing, and I know this is so stupid what I'm about to say, but the idea that this is pre-internet, right? So the only way people find out information, it's like because someone traveled from New York to Ohio, right?
yeah.
And like brought the information with them. And that a flyer on, maybe a library bulletin board or in a high school is how people all like wrote down the information and got there and wanted to be there. There's sort of, it touches on immigration. I mean, there are so many people who bring their personal story to the play in the audience, and we'll see up there a woman who really, even in 2025, even not thinking about their mother, but thinking about themselves right now. I mean, it can't be lost on anyone how astonishingly relevant the play is. How lucky for you that it happens to have so much humanity in it and really speak to the moment at the same time. You have written so many plays at this point. You have really created a language about family that is so different in each of them. Um, I talk to a lot of writers who write in all sorts of genres about the vulnerability of that and the vulnerability for their families. Because as a writer, you base so much on what you know. What has this been like in particular this play um, for your family?
Um, it's a great question because you're always balancing the artistic impulse with the fact that we live in community and with other people, and we don't want to put anything out there that might harm anybody else. And I think about that, of course, a lot with my family. And I have three kids of my own, so I'm very sort of protective. Um, my when I told my mother I was writing this play, um, she was very excited, actually. And the thing that she said that I found so moving, because I was worried, I was like, oh, I don't want to offend you. I don't want to misrepresent something. I don't want to, I don't know what you're going to think about this. And she just kept saying to me, don't hold anything back. Like, just write what you want to write. Don't worry about me. Don't stop yourself. Just totally go for it, 100%, Um, and that was really freeing for me to know that I had um, that um, kind of permission from her, And
Yeah.
then, I didn't know, that in the play, the character's mother would have passed away. So then I kind of discovered that as I was making the play. And then I had to call her and say, like, by the way,
Also,
I've had to kill you off.
she's like, "You always wanted to." Yeah.
Exactly. I think there's a great tradition of writers doing that actually, and then their sort of fictional representations of themselves. Yeah, it's like it's a dramaturgical necessity. I don't know what to tell you. She's like, it's fine, it's fine. She kept just saying, like, do what you want, like, don't hold back. I think in a way, because she is a person who has a sort of radical streak inside her, and she is a person who believes in women's voices being, celebrated and put out there. So why would she be any different with me, Um, and so she really was able to be supportive. And actually, there's without spoiling anything, there's a moment when the character is able to have a conversation with their mother, and she and I talked through that whole conversation together, and a lot of the things that are said in the play are things that she said to me. So it was a very healing experience, actually. Just
That's
because
incredible.
yeah, it was beautiful. It
Oh,
was like I got
yeah.
to have the conversation with her because of how generous she was, with me around the writing of this play.
It's so interesting. I think so much about, can we know our parents? And
Hmm.
and as a parent, how much do I share with my kids? It's always like, I'm of a generation where you sort of wait for them to ask the question before you offer the information. That was like seemed very key in the mission statements of parenting in the, late 2000s, but I do feel like it's something, just as a human, I grapple with that all the time. And also going like, what is my business? Is it my business to get to know them? Like they had me. That doesn't mean they have to share themselves fully with me. And now I feel that way as a parent. Like I'm always trying to figure it out. And so it really spoke to me deeply, this idea of preconceived ideas, what is our business, what isn't our business, and the ability for art, and in this play in particular, to really explore that topic within the sort of umbrella of like a movement. Um, and also, I would imagine you must have been so proud of your mother growing up.
Hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think I really was. I was sort of in awe of both her and her friends, all of these like really smart, chic women who with these like, apartments filled with books and always going to protests and marches and just being very sort of politically engaged. And I really looked up to them all. I sort of knew them as, you know, um, like sort of a little pantheon of people who I sort of really idolized and worshipped in a way. And so And she in particular, I think we all have, these very early memories of our mother, or a lot of us do, that are very, very evocative. I can still like smell her, Norel perfume as she would like go past. I can remember so many things about like the experience of seeing your mom, leave the house, and how just grown up she seems, and she's like got, I got it all under control. So I have a lot of memories like that about her. And it's been nice to, like, you put myself back in a place of, what if I could see her as a person and not a parent? What would that look like? I think that's sort of a rite of passage in your life, when you start to sort of understand, even if it's only partially, that your parents are actually people who had a life before you showed up, who had things going on in their lives that you might not have been aware of, and who were fully rounded human beings. And there's a moment in the play where the um, narrator character watches her father propose to her mother. And we were thinking about, like, what would it be like if you could go back in time and watch your father propose to your mother? I mean, how incredible. And I was saying, like, God, I wish I could have seen that. And Whitney, our director, was like, I would not want to see that. So I think it
Right.
depends on your point of view, but just to be able to see a moment in your parents' life before you existed, it's such a rich and powerful thing.
And now everyone films their engagement. I mean, now for this next generation, what will be left that isn't documented, it can be misinterpreted, but everything is documented in real time. And so some of these questions will, and some of the way our imaginations flourish won't be there, because it's all like, oh, here, you want to like call it up, everything's like, we'll call that moment up for you. It's like, it's such a strange, I love in the play, you know and I hope this isn't giving too much away, and I can edit it out if it is, so you'll tell me. But
Yeah.
this idea of, because my mother's journey was about freedom and individuality and exploring what it means to be a woman and have ownership of yourself, she also made a choice to have a family at a moment where the rebellious act was to not do that, was not to kind of go on a traditional path. And I thought this sort of, we're all little children inside, and the way in which your protagonist goes like, did I sort of question, like, did I ruin something for her? Because
Mhm.
she went on this path, like, how does she feel about me? And it was like so tender and provocative and like right, like right.
Yeah, and it's a question that I always, I had in the back of my mind growing up. And then since I've put that question into this play, I've learned that actually I am not alone in that question. Like, a lot of women from my generation, and I think from other generations, wonder this, like, knowing what an impact children have on their mothers' lives, joyful and difficult at times. Like, what was I for you? Did you have some dream that you couldn't live because of my existence?
Right.
And it's a question that is much more universal than I expected. I did not know that anyone else was thinking this, but that's the beauty of sharing a play, right? It's like,
Yeah.
I wrote this thing. It's like pages from my journal ripped out and like put on a stage for the audience. And then you see that other people meet you there and say, like, oh yeah, I had the same thought, the same
Yeah.
question. And it's
It slayed
wonderful.
me. It really slayed me. I mean, the whole play, guys, you're listening all over the world, but for those of you lucky enough to have access to New York City somehow or some way, we have to talk about this sort of meta of it all, which is I saw a photograph of Gloria Steinem in your audience. So can you just talk about that?
That was a great night. We, of
I
course,
bet it was.
but yes, it was like the dream. And I have to say, we've had a lot of women who are very active in the women's liberation movement, the second wave. come to the show. And it's been thrilling because we meet them afterwards, we talk with them, and thank God they love the show and they feel very seen by it, which has been incredible. But the night that Gloria came, I didn't tell the cast because I didn't want anyone to feel nervous or sort of antsy on stage. But afterwards, we said to them, there's someone really special waiting in the house, and we would love it if you would come out and meet her. And they all came out, and like, their jaws just like fell on the floor when they saw her sitting there. And then we went over and talked with her, and she is so extraordinary. Her immediate thought was, how do we get more young people to see this play? How do we get more people in? She was sort of organizing and like engaging in it as
Right,
an activist
right,
immediately. Like, how do we
right.
bring people in to see this? And the thing she said that I also loved that really informed the rest of our process on the show was people kept saying to her, as I'm sure they always do, like, thank you for your service. Thank you for everything you've done. You're so amazing, which is all true. And she kept saying back, it was fun, it was fun. And I thought that was so beautiful because to me, of course, it's very modest and deflects in a very sort of like skillful way, but also the idea that movements have this joy and fun at the center of them. That was something that we really tried to hold as we move forward with the play, that the chemistry between the women, the friendships, the laughs, the silliness, the sort of day-to-day just wanting to be together and seeing each other, that was what kept the movement alive as much as all of the sort of bigger sort of, you know, mandates of social justice and all the things that they were achieving. There was just this part of it that was like, this is fun for us. And I think we forget that a lot when we think about people making important change in the world, that the people who are the best at it are having actually fun doing it, not in a lighthearted, like frivolous way, but like a deep sense of joy and pleasure in each other and in the work that they're doing. So that sense of like a deep kind of fun, I think, became really essential to the play. And I hope that it's something that the audience also takes from being in space with these characters.
100%. Your wonderful sense of humor is
Mm.
so perfectly woven into this, and your intelligence, and your compassion, and your empathy, and your tremendous curiosity. I mean, I am such a huge fan of all of your plays. And this really feels like the culmination of so many of the things that are important to you, and yet, like it is a whole new creative landscape that you've brought to us. And Daryl Roth is an old friend of mine, and she was like, I cannot wait for you to see this. And I feel so privileged that I did. I feel so lucky that I saw it again in its earlier, moments. It's so exciting to see something in previews. It's so alive. I know you're opening tonight, like in a minute. This
We're opening this coming Tuesday. So
Okay, so it's all probably happily locked and set, and now everyone can just breathe and do the damn thing.
yeah.
Um, Bess, thank you for your intelligence, truly, and the joy that you bring. Um, it's really a lucky thing for me that I live on the planet at the same time that you're writing. How selfishly, how lucky for me. Uh, and everyone who gets to see your work. And I can't just, and they can see your movie and you are going to watch, you're writing on all sorts of things. And so people who don't live in New York are seeing your work, even if they don't know it in particular. But um, thank you. And before I let you go, you've already been so generous. Is there a little known fact about Bess Wohl that you can share?
I love this question. I think my little known fact is that I actually started my career in theater, professional theater, as a follow spot operator. The people who like point the spotlight at actors sitting way up in a tower. It was an outdoor theater experience, a company called On Guard Arts. I did it 2 summers in a row during college, and I just sat up at the top of this outdoor tower with my little follow spot and my headset, pointing it at whoever I was supposed to be pointing it at. And it really, I never talk about that because I talk about being an actor and I talk about being a writer. But first, I was a follow spot operator, and I'll never forget it. It was an incredible training because you watch the show every single night and you learn a lot that way. And I just wanted to be close to actors and theater and the process. I would have done anything to be part of it. And that is what I did first.
I love it. Well, there are a lot of follow spots on you now, and I really thank you for your time today and congrats. It's really beautiful. And I'll see you soon.
Thank you. This was such a wonderful conversation. I really appreciate it. And yeah, see you soon.
All right. Bye, Vess. Bye. We did it. Thank you so
How was
much.
it? Did we do
I
okay?
feel I mean, selfishly, I had the time of my life. I hope you enjoyed it. I know you have to do this a lot, so thank you
No,
so
I
much.
loved it. And I love your podcast so much. You
Thank
just
you.
interview the most interesting people and you have the most interesting, rich conversation. So congrats on it.
Thank you.
It's just such an honor to be on it. So thank you.
Oh, well, happy to have you, and I'm so thrilled you're part of the library now. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye, honey. Bye.